Welcome again, and we're glad you're back with us today. Today we're going to take a different approach to OH&S because we're going to shift the paradigm and focus on when compliance might go bad. Let's start off with our leading question. What if your safety rules conflict with how the job is actually done? When the rules stop matching real life, risk starts creeping up quietly, even though everything can still look compliant on paper. Out in the field, people adjust, improvise, and sometimes skip steps just to get the work done, not because they do not care, but because the written rule does not fit the task as it actually happens. The real danger is when those workarounds become normal, because then the procedure turns into background noise and the shortcut becomes the new standard. And that drift happens when the job changes faster than the paperwork. So equipment, timelines, staffing, and pressure evolve while the procedure stays stuck in the past. This gap usually shows up in predictable ways. Procedures get written without watching the real task, and controls get designed for ideal conditions instead of real constraints. Then productivity pressure squeezes safe pacing, workers find quicker methods that seem safe, and supervisors allow small deviations to keep work moving. Each adjustment looks minor, but repeated over time, it becomes the new normal, which means the written rule is no longer controlling the risk. When rules and real work drift apart, people end up doing work as done instead of work as imagined, and the system starts running on assumptions instead of control. That is risky because the hazard assessment no longer matches the real task. The controls can be wrong or missing, and supervisors end up enforcing inconsistently because the rule does not fit the job. Then when something goes wrong, investigations get muddy because everyone compares the incident to a procedure nobody actually followed. At that point, you are not managing risk, you are just reacting to outcomes. Here's some micro tips that can help. Follow the work, not the document. If a procedure was written without watching the real task, treat it as a draft until it survives a field walkthrough. Design for constraints, not ideals. Build controls that work with time, space, tools, and staffing limits, because ideal condition rules get bypassed. Look for quiet exceptions. If supervisors allow small exceptions to keep work moving, treat it that the rule is unrealistic. Watch for normalization. If the workaround is widely known and rarely discussed, the workaround is now the real procedure. Compare training to what veterans demonstrate. If training teaches one method and experienced workers show another, update the system before the mismatch becomes habit. Audit the job on a normal day. Do not only watch staged demos, because real work under real pressure is where rules either hold up or break down. Ask one question that unlocks the root cause. What makes this rule hard to follow? Because the answer usually points to outdated rules, impractical rules, or changed work. Do not enforce harder before you understand. Stricter enforcement without fixing practicality pushes deviation underground and makes risk less visible. Map work as done against work as imagined. If they do not match, your hazard assessment and controls are built on assumptions, not reality. Verify controls where conditions change. Focus on transition points like setup, handoffs, weather shifts, last-minute changes, and tight timelines, because that is where shortcuts form. If you want OH&S support that closes the gap between work as imagined and work as done, so your safety rules match how the job is actually performed, visit calgarysafetyconsultants.ca and reach out. We help you turn rule-to-reality conflict into practical alignment by observing real work, identifying where procedures drift and why shortcuts become normal, and then updating hazard assessments, procedures, and critical controls so they are realistic, enforceable, and trusted, which means supervisors can verify controls during real work and your system manages risk instead of reacting after something goes wrong.